The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of my Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Yeah, I started from PBS Kids. What you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video. So, what exactly is a renaissance? Often when it comes to entertainment, when people have an interest in something, they fall out of it and then they get back into it because the material has changed for the better. That is how we define renaissance when it comes to art. Often. Now, when it comes to types of renaissances that people are familiar with, people tend to bring up the Disney Renaissance, and that consisted of the films that came out in the late 80s, which it was really 1989. That's why people just say it was the 90s. The main reason we refer to this as the Disney's Renaissance is because there was so much that happened with the films that came out the decade before, the 2 decades before specifically, where a lot of these movies were considered to be flops. And also a lot of them just weren't all that well written, I'd say. The main one that comes to mind when I think of a Disney movie that the execution could have been much better on was The Black Cauldron. If there's a Disney movie that needs a fucking remake, it's that one. It needs to be fixed. But after the Disney Renaissance in the 90s, there was also another period in the 2000s where it was seen that Disney was making flops, when honestly a lot of those movies seem to be very admirable in my opinion, because that's where we got Treasure Planet and Lilo and Stitch. But it seems as if Disney entered a new renaissance where it was called the Disney Revival, starting with The Princess and the Frog. Love Tiana, by the way. And if you're familiar with animation as a whole, you know that a lot of people consider the Cartoon Network to have a renaissance period too. This was basically during the time after Seeing Real came out, where so many people were just irritated with the channel because they started making live action content when the entire purpose of Cartoon Network was to be cartoons. And the shows that came out during this Cartoon Network renaissance would have to be Regular Show, Adventure Time, The Amazing World of Gumball, and Steven Universe. Those are like the big 4 where that come to mind when you say Cartoon Network renaissance. Now, we sit here and say that Disney has had a renaissance. We sit here and say that Cartoon Network has had a renaissance. But let's be honest, did Nickelodeon have a renaissance? Because Disney, we would say, had a golden era and then things fell off, but then the Renaissance revived so much and then it fell off again by Disney standards and then it was revived once more. Cartoon Network had its golden period, then Seeing Real happened, and the next thing you know, the Renaissance happened. Does Nickelodeon have one? Let's figure it out. Hey y'all, it's Harriana back with another video. Hi, hello, how are you doing? My name is Harriana and welcome to or welcome back to the Pirate Ship, also known as Harry Hood's Pirate Ship. I am the captain, you are not my first mate. I don't got no first mate because you want to know why? Bring your ear closer to the speaker so you can hear me clearly. But hi, hello, my name is Harriana and I like to make content based on nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I find within those spaces. Today we are on the 3rd episode of Nick November and we are going to decide on whether or not Nickelodeon has a renaissance, and the answer is no. I'm gonna go ahead and sit here and tell you now. But also, one, we need to talk about some like housekeeping things. It's not on y'all, it's on me this time. Someone mentioned that there was like flickering in my videos, and I know like I understand sensitivities and all that, so I tried to do what I could to fix the lighting and end up making this one brighter, so I hope that helps. But two, also Black Friday is coming up and I want to promote my products because this is my channel and I can do that. So as y'all know, I love me some panty and stocking. It's a guilty pleasure, and I made this cute ass hoodie for it. I bedazzled it on my own. Right here it says fly away, bedazzle right there. But also guess what, you look at the hoodie, look at the damn hoodie, bedazzled rhinestones right there, and then it's also on the other side just as well. But also look at the back, look at the back, look at the back. Isn't that super cute? On top of the fact that I have that jacket coming, I have another jacket coming. It's a Miraculous Ladybug inspired jacket. Don't worry y'all, it's cool. I also have added numerous bonnets. This right here is a Nanami bonnet from Jujutsu Kaisen. This is the one side of it, it's a reversible one. Let me show you guys the inside. Boom. The inside is like his knife. The outside, I'd say, is his tie. Next, we have Amphibia. I love Amphibia, and I'm so happy that I was able to, like, you know, add something for my shop here. It's an Amphibia bonnet. The next bonnet we have is a SpongeBob bonnet, which is pretty much on brand for Nick November. SpongeBob. Next, we have a Bratz bonnet. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? It has the lips. And then next thing you know, we have a Draculaura bonnet. We have a Lala bonnet. And then the last bonnet that I have sitting over here, I actually have more. These are just the only ones I have with me at the moment, is a Claudine Wolf bonnet. So if you guys are interested in all these products, they'll be available for purchase Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, on my website, harryanahook.com. And then basically first come, first serve. Basically whoever get there first, y'all get the Black Friday deal for their weekend. So yeah. Now let's get on with today's video. Today we are going to be just talking about Nickelodeon and how I personally do not think that this network has a renaissance, because it seemed as if everything was going all right and then it slowly started to go downhill, and now Nickelodeon is in this strange spot, I say, where I feel like so many people have just stopped caring about it overall. Part of the reason it is hard for me to ignore what Nickelodeon has turned into is because when you are an animation fan, you kind of have to pay attention to so much of all the animation that is being created. That also includes preschool shows too. You often are getting news about all these new series that are being made. But so many of the new things that Nickelodeon has been making animation-wise has not necessarily caught the interest of a lot of people. And I'm not just saying like it's not catching the interest of adults, because as we know, these shows are meant for the younger demographic. They're not appealing to much of anyone because of how poor these ratings and all are. But we also can blame that on streaming too. So let's take it back to where I say Nickelodeon first got its start, because I remember when I was younger, I used to learn a lot about like the history of the Nicktoons and whatnot, because I used to get Nick Mag when I was younger. I still have a few of the copies that I was able to save, because I know a lot of them got thrown away. Those were souvenirs. But as we know, Nickelodeon started in the 90s. It started with cartoons. You know, they had their live action shows. They had Kaden and Kel. They had all that. They had Clarissa Explains It All. They had so many sitcoms, by the way, that so many people just don't necessarily speak much about anyway. Cousin Skeeter comes to mind, you know, the show about like the puppet. There's so many series that Nickelodeon had created in the 90s that I say are necessarily forgotten. And then next thing you know, we have the 2000s. And the 2000s is where I say was Nickelodeon's kind of golden era for the most part, because even though SpongeBob came out in 99, I'm pretty sure it's 99 or 98, I'm pretty sure it's 99, that literally like put Nickelodeon on top. It literally sent them through the roof. They realized that they can make so much money off of this fucking yellow sponge. But also around that time period, we got The Fairly Odd Parents. We was getting As Told by Ginger. Later on, we got Danny Phantom. Then we got My Life as a Teenage Robot. Nickelodeon had so much to offer in the early 2000s, but also the 90s just as well, because Rugrats was pretty big in the 90s. It was so big, it ended up getting its own spinoff, which was All Grown Up, which aged well, mostly in my opinion. And then we also got a lot of shows that were most definitely products of its time that would work better if it, oh god, so much of that writing in Rocket Power pisses me off. And then after like this era, I say, where we had all of these memorable Nicktoons that a lot of people still talk about to this day and reference, I literally am planning on doing all of Tiff Crust's costumes for cosplay in 2024, and I'm super duper excited, but I know this is also going to be a challenge for me, so yeah. But after that period, that is when Nicktoons Network started to pop off, I say, and that is when we started to get introduced to like an abundance of animated shows. I'm not even joking, where I feel like it was like a bit oversaturated, I say, but it was Nicktoons Network for a reason. But there was just so much shit on that channel that it was so hard to keep up, because a lot of these shows that were on Nicktoons Network didn't necessarily last long. Cap and Mikey is the first one that comes to mind when I think of that. And even though this is Nicktoons Network, I still technically count it as a Nickelodeon, because at the end of the day, these were all Nicktoons. All Nickelodeon cartoons are referred to as Nicktoons. Nicktoons Network is all kind of similar to how Disney treats Disney XD. Because you know how Disney sends shows to Disney XD to die? Nickelodeon sends shows to Nicktoons Network to die just as well. Because they sent My Life as a Teenage Robot to die over there, and that confused the fuck out of me. I was like, what? Huh? Because that last season of the series, not that many people even watched it because we didn't even know it aired. But also, aside from Nickelodeon's animation, let's talk a bit about those live action shows. Because when you think of Nickelodeon, you think of live action series. We think about the Dan Snyder universe. We had Drake and Josh. Then after that, first we had Kenan and Kel, then we had the Amanda Show, but it all fucking started with all that up in the 90s. But then after that, we had iCarly, and then, you know, we got Victorious, and then around that time period before that, we had Zoe 101. There was just so much Dan Snyder content on this channel, and honestly, he ran the channel for a bit. And when I was reading Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, she also basically mentioned how, like, the network was kind of like afraid of him, and he was very difficult to work with. At the end of like the last season of Sam and Cat, they had to put him away from everybody because he was just so awful. I can't stand Dan Snyder, by the way. Like, I have stopped making content about that man on this channel because he just pisses me off so bad. But there, like I said, we had the Dan Snyder content, but also Dan Snyder shows were not the only live action shows that were on this network, because we also had Ned's Declassified, which was a pretty big one. And then also we had, what's this here? Oh my god, there's a ladybug on the light. Oh my gosh. Anyway, we had True Jackson VP, we had Big Time Rush, we had The Troop, we had Super Ninjas, we had all of these other live action shows that were coming out, but they were much lesser known and they didn't get the same type of notoriety and popularity that the Dan Snyder series got just as well. But I noticed that there was this very strange shift that came after Victorious ended. And a lot of people tend to say that Victorious was Dan Snyder's last good project, because a lot of people consider Henry Danger to be like Dan Snyder's last good project, and we're gonna get into that word shit, because Henry Danger could work if it fixed so much of its writing. Half the episode be good and the other half be ass. I can say that Nickelodeon's golden era basically ended after Victorious was over. And the reason I say that is because I don't necessarily think Nickelodeon ever went downhill during the years. It was extremely popping in the 90s. I am gonna make an entire separate Nick November video about the 90s, all that, and how it made a lot of us take our rose-colored glasses off. But Nickelodeon was having hit after hit after hit after hit after hit, and they had so much content to put out. They had so much in the 90s, and part of the reason why it was so successful in the 90s because it was one of the first bigger family entertainment networks that came out. They literally took over in the 2000s. But by the time the mid 2010s came, that is when I say Nickelodeon really started to fall off. Because that is when we started to notice that they were doing really concerning shit when it came to their animation. They were putting all the shit on Nicktoons Network, weren't bothering to promote it, but then also that is when the Fairly Odd Parents started to get questionably bad. Like, it was so questionably bad, it got moved off Nickelodeon. It ended up being put on Nicktoons Network. And then, you know, we have the Harvey Beaks, we have the Loud House, and Harvey Beaks was honestly a show that I wish more people gave a chance to, because I really liked it and I thought it was pretty relaxing to watch, but it got moved to Nicktoons Network and died over there. But then we have like the big success of the Loud House. The Loud House, honestly, I think it was more successful than Nickelodeon planned for it to be. And mind you, I really liked the first season of the Loud House, but after that it really started to get irritating and repetitive for me, and I really just wasn't feeling it that much anymore. But we had the Loud House, and then next thing you know, we ended up getting Henry Danger. Now, Henry Danger and the Loud House are two of the things that Nickelodeon is continuing to milk to filth, aside from the Fairly Odd Parents, because they noticed that those two things right there, despite if they're good or not, they're gonna make them money. Like, they already know that they can milk SpongeBob to filth, because SpongeBob is something that will never ever stop being popular. It's been popular since it came out in the 90s, and it's still popular now. Hell, I even have a fucking SpongeBob bonnet. Like, I love SpongeBob down. I watch it all the time, but that literally goes to show you how big this series is, despite the fact that that shit came out like 24 years ago. Aside from SpongeBob, and then I know Nickelodeon tried to bring back Rugrats. A lot of people wasn't necessarily feeling that shit. People was not over here trying to watch Paramount Plus, okay? But also, we ended up getting an iCarly reboot that ended up getting canceled. And a lot of people were saying that the main reason they were watching Paramount Plus in the first place, the main reason they were paying for that subscription service, was to watch the iCarly revival. And I find this information all to be extremely interesting, because it seems as if Nickelodeon just continues to try and bring something new from their properties that were older that made them so much money. Because Nickelodeon has continuously tried to make new projects. They don't really do much of anything, or people just simply don't care about them. They do have some live action shows that I know are doing pretty okay, but at the same time, it's kind of scary to see how these shows are just so easily forgotten. Because as much as I love That Girl Lele, it feels so out of place on Nickelodeon, and I low-key feel like it would have a better fit on Netflix Family. Even though Netflix fucks over their shows so bad, That Girl Lele fits so much better over there because of how awkward this network feels at this point, because it feels like they're just throwing shit at the wall and trying to figure out what sticks. They tried to come up with original content. It's kind of very much lackluster, and then they don't really do much of anything with it, and it just fails flat. So they're just continuing to take shit from the past, that being SpongeBob, and I heard they're trying to bring the Fairly Odd Parents back again. Please let that be false, because I can't do it. They're continuously taking these things from the past and trying to bring new life to them. And I say that the iCarly revival was the most successful out of these things because it was actually very well done, opposed to that Zoe 101 movie that they made and it was straight ass. I refuse to watch it. The iCarly reboot worked so well in the first place because the show grew up with its audience, and I found that extremely interesting, I'd say. But that just goes to show you that that show was really kind of made for like adults in that aspect. So many of these other programming that they are making, that they continue to just pull from and try to milk as much as they can, they're trying to appeal to all ages, but the gag is it's not appealing to much of anyone. People aren't necessarily enjoying much of any of the new content that the new Nickelodeon is putting out, and I find that so sad, because when people are constantly praising animation and just filmmaking as a whole, Nickelodeon is low-key at the bottom of the barrel. So many people are not necessarily excited for any of the new SpongeBob content. People are not necessarily excited for the new Loud House content, except for like the fandom, which yay, good for them. But Nickelodeon does not have a renaissance period. It looks as if they were kind of getting one with how well the iCarly revival was going, but technically the iCarly reboot wasn't Nickelodeon. That was Paramount Plus. The new SpongeBob shows are not necessarily hitting for people. A lot of people aren't necessarily checking for these live action shows, except for That Girl Lele that deserves so much better. Please give that show attention. Young Dylan has the potential to be much better if it was written better. Like, listen, I actually kind of like Young Dylan, especially when it comes to the entire dynamic with the family and the mother not being there and her son's life and everything like that. Young Dylan works at times, but then the other times it's just like, why is this writing so awkward? Then again, it's Tyler Perry, so. Currently, I don't even think Nickelodeon really knows what they want to do with their network at this point, because it's either new Loud House stuff, either new SpongeBob stuff, their live action shows that they don't necessarily do much of anything with. I don't even think they make new Nicktoons, like, I don't even think they make Nickelodeon movies anymore. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Nickelodeon coming out with a movie anytime soon? Because I haven't been hearing anything about it. And the main reason I feel like I would know is because I often watch Nicktoons Network when they're airing SpongeBob reruns at 2 o'clock in the morning. I have no idea what the next year for Nickelodeon is even going to look like remotely. It's just going to be Loud House, SpongeBob, one of them live action shows that a lot of people just really not even checking for, and that's pretty much it. I don't think Nickelodeon has a renaissance period, and if they do have one, it's not going to happen for a while. And that has a lot to do with the state of filmmaking in general, especially with animation. I don't know. I find it kind of sad to see how Nickelodeon has kind of like turned into a complete shit show. But also, I feel like it's karma. I read Jeanette McCurdy's book. I have been hearing about so much of the behind the scenes bullshit that has gone on for years with this company. It's just scary and it's just sad. But like I said, I feel like so much of this is this company's karma. I don't know. Nickelodeon is something that I just kind of have been very indifferent on lately, and I haven't necessarily been interested in checking for much of anything that they make. And Jeanette McCurdy's book has so much to do with that. I'm not even joking. If you have not read I'm Glad My Mom Died, please go check it out. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have read it. A lot of people have read it. That is one of the few books that have come out in the recent years where I can say a lot of people read it, and I'm proud of y'all for reading. Round of applause, round of applause. I don't know, these are just some thoughts that I just wanted to get out of my head, where I was like, Nickelodeon don't have no renaissance, and that's kind of concerning, but also we'll see when y'all do clownery, the clown comes back to bite. Oh yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like I said, I really like making the videos where I just get on here and just talk my shit. But yeah, all of the new binds and all of that good stuff will be available for purchase this Black Friday weekend, especially that penny and stocking jacket. That gotta be one of my favorite jackets that I have made yet. I keep wearing it all the time. It's super duper comfortable. It took a while to make because of all the gems and rhinestones that had to go on it, but yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and have a great day, night, or whatever time of the day you chose to watch this. I'm just thankful that you watched it, and don't forget Black Friday, Thanksgiving night. Hope to see you there. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.